Welcome to another episode of Murder, Mysteries, and More. My name is Kaylee.
And my name is Desi.
Today we will be discussing the suspicious death of Alonzo Brooks.
Alonzo Tyree Brooks was born on May 19th, 1980 in Topeka, Kansas. His parents are Billy Brooks Sr. and Mariah Ramirez. Dementra, Felicia, and Esperanza are his three older sisters. Billy Jr. was his older brother. Alonzo had a big family and was very popular. His nickname was Zoe.
Alonzo's mother remarried to a man named Stuart Porter. Alonzo loved his step-siblings. His family described him as a very friendly, sweet guy. He never had drama with anyone. Rodney English was his best friend. Rodney and Alonzo's favorite game to play was King of the Hill. King of the Hill is whenever you try to beat the other person to the top of the hill.
Alonzo's other brother Billy felt their mom coddled him too much. Billy wanted the absolute best for his brother. A little bit after Alonzo graduated high school, his mother and him relocated. They moved to Gardner, Kansas. Alonzo worked for his stepfather's maintenance company.
It took Alonzo a bit of adjusting. Topeka is the capital of Kansas and Gardner is a small town. Saturday, April 2004, one of Alonzo's friends heard about a party in another town. The party was a send-off for a guy who was leaving for boot camp. Alonzo was the oldest. He was also the only black friend in his group that was going.
Information to note because he was maybe one of three black people going to this party. The town they were going to is known for its southern ways. His friends met at Alonzo's house, and Alonzo had hurt his ankle from playing basketball.
Before he left, he kissed his mom goodbye. Alonzo drove to the party with his friend Justin. The party was hosted in a secluded farmhouse outside the Cygne area. The farmhouse was in a wooded area. There was a small creek running along one side of the house.
Most of the people at the party were younger than Alonzo. He was 23 and they were maybe 16 or 17. Everyone was drinking and having a good time. His friend Daniel took a shot with him and then left, then came back later when he saw Alonzo in a fight.
In the Netflix series Unsolved Mysteries, Justin says he believes the fight was about Alonzo's race. In the Cygne area, racism happened often. An hour later, Daniel and his friends leave Alonzo at this party with Justin. Justin tells Alonzo he will be right back. He is going to grab some cigarettes. Justin was supposed to take Alonzo home.
Justin calls another friend at the party, whom Alonzo doesn't know, and asks them to take Alonzo home. Sunday, April 4th, Mom gets a call from one of Zoe's friends. They wanted to make sure he made it home, so Mom checks his bedroom. Alonzo is nowhere to be found. So, Mom calls Rodney.
Justin took Rodney and the other friends to drive back to the farmhouse. He couldn't believe Alonzo was left there. They got out, searched, and found one of Zoe's boots in his school hat. Down the road, they found his other boot. A guy rolls up in a four-wheeler and tells them they have to leave.
Rodney, who is also black, got eerie vibes. This gave Alonzo's friend a wake-up call. The friends report back to what happened. Mom reports to the police that Alonzo is missing. They tell her she needs to wait 48 hours because he is an adult, so she calls her son Billy.
Billy offers to drive through the town. Billy and his wife Cindy try to figure out who owns the house. It turns out to be a rental property. The police went to search the property and found no signs of Alonzo. The case was turned to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation.
KBI and media believed that this was most likely a hate crime. The residents in the Cygne area did not like the coverage it was getting. KBI told the family to avoid Cygne because of its history of racism.
Investigators sent out divers to check the creek for his body. The creek was only 3 feet deep. Still no luck in finding Alonzo. The investigation was closed after 6 searches. They searched every inch of the property and interviewed party attendees.
About a month after his disappearance, the family was given permission to search. Karen Turner searched a thick area full of brush. She looked over the ravine into the water and found his body. Police believe his body was moved there. They had searched the property multiple times, and suddenly his body was there after they had not seen it before.
Dr. Eric Mitchell performed an autopsy. There were no signs of noticeable trauma, gunshot wounds, stab wounds. They couldn't tell if he was strangled because his neck region was heavily decomposed. His death was ruled as undetermined.
In April 2019, after the Netflix show aired, the case was reopened. The FBI rejoined the case. Investigators found some evidence proving that Alonzo was a victim of a hate crime. His death is now currently ruled as a homicide. To this day, we do not know who killed Alonzo.
Here are some questions. Daniel, Alonzo's friend, witnessed the racially motivated fight Alonzo was in. Why did he leave Alonzo by himself an hour later? Like, I found it really frustrating that after Daniel had witnessed Alonzo being a victim of a hate crime that he just decided to leave him and go to another party. I don't think it's right. Probably did leave because Daniel did step in to break up the fight, and he probably thought that it wasn't going to go any farther than this, and Daniel was just more worried about having a good time, so he probably wasn't thinking straight and decided to go to this other party and just leave Alonzo. He thought Alonzo would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Or he thought that maybe after being at one party that Alonzo maybe didn't want to tag along with him. So he just kind of figured that leaving Alonzo with their other friends would be perfectly fine.
That's true, and also Justin was the one that was actually supposed to take Alonzo home. Daniel probably thought that he was going to be completely fine with Justin, and that Justin was going to actually keep his word.
Justin was responsible for taking Alonzo home, but instead he left Alonzo at the party. Why did Justin leave Alonzo? Well, Justin left to go actually get cigarettes, which Alonzo kind of mentioned to him that if he did, to grab him a pack and all that stuff, and Justin actually ended up going the wrong way and backtracking. He had called somebody to let them know that he wasn't going to be able to pick him up and that he needed someone else to pick Alonzo up and take him home. Maybe Justin thought that Alonzo would be okay being there with some people they were acquainted with. Didn't really think anything too bad would happen based off the fight and everything, especially if it was racially motivated. Maybe he should have seen a little more like signs and everything as to what it might happen, but sometimes you can't always see that.
Right, and I also do want to mention that unfortunately, before like they even went to the party, you definitely, don't want to judge someone based off their color, but there's a difference between that and like actually seeing color, and I don't think his friends knew a lot about what people of different races go through, and they didn't understand how dangerous of a situation Alonzo was put in. So Justin probably just really didn't mean to do this, and like you said, he got lost and it was in the middle of the night. He did happen to call one of his friends to take Alonzo home, so he probably thought that this was going to be fine and Alonzo would make it home. Like also you said, he might not have seen all the signs of how racism can turn deadly quickly. If you're white, you're not going to completely understand the extent if you've never been through it before. And this was 2004. And while we have made like improvements, there's still a lot that needs to be done. And I feel like even in 2004, there was still, obviously, especially small towns, there's not a lot of awareness. Justin asked one of his friends to take Alonzo home. Why didn't they? Justin, he called one of his friends to take Alonzo home, and I do find it a little bit, weird. I feel like if this friend did take him home, it might have been a different outcome. One of the reasons why they might not have taken Alonzo home is Alonzo was pretty upset with Justin, and maybe they wanted to give Alonzo some time to kind of cool off. Also, maybe they didn't think of it as much of an issue, or they could have forgot. Many people were drinking that night. That could happen. Also, there was reports of another fight breaking out at 3 a.m. in the morning. That fight was definitely racially motivated, and people said it got very violent quickly, so maybe he didn't take Alonzo home because Alonzo was caught in the middle of the fight.
Could one of Alonzo's friends that attended the party that night be involved in his death? If so, who? I kind of find it highly hard to believe that maybe one of his friends would be involved in his death. I think it was more of like an acquaintance at the party or somebody, like some complete stranger that he didn't know that was very against black people. Just had some beef with Alonzo for no reason. I don't believe his friends were involved, to be honest. And if they were, they did a pretty good job of covering up and everything. But I feel like the truth would have came out sooner if one of his friends had been involved. But I feel like I said, I feel like it's very unlikely when one of his friends was involved. I feel like it was maybe like a stranger, an acquaintance that was more so involved in his death.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think any of his friends are involved because whenever the police did investigate them multiple times from even early on, and even from early on in the case, they were definitely wanting to search for Alonzo. They also very quickly realized how badly they fucked up by leaving Alonzo by himself that night and not taking him home, especially Justin. I feel like if Justin was really involved, he would definitely most likely not feel that guilty, and he probably wouldn't have like gone searching. I feel like there would have been a lot more evidence. I do feel like it is very possible that one of their acquaintances, such as supposedly the guy that was supposed to take Alonzo home, his name was supposedly Adam, he could have been actually the one involved, and Justin might not have known it, because again, like Justin went to go get cigars and then he got lost and called this guy named Adam to take him home. So Adam could totally have been the one that actually killed Alonzo. I feel like whoever Alonzo was in the racially motivated fight is most likely responsible. There could have been multiple people that did gang up on him, but I don't think it would be his friends because I do feel like you said, there would be a lot more evidence pointing towards them. Why would they go all the way out to this party to have fun with Alonzo just to go and kill him? That seems a little bit extreme. And also, Daniel did go and leave to go to another party because he was bored. So basically, he couldn't be involved. So pretty much, that just leaves it to a local person from the town. Which leads me into the next question. Could multiple people have ganged up on Alonzo and killed him? I think it's very possible that multiple people have ganged up on Alonzo and killed him. Anytime there is a fight, especially at a party, the crowd does start to get wild, and since the town was very well known for racism and Alonzo was a very athletic guy and he was a lot bigger, a lot of people could have ganged up on him and killed him. I don't think it's just one person necessarily. I think that it's probably multiple people, or even if only one person hurt him, the person from the fights, I think the whole town covered up who really killed Alonzo.
Yeah, I definitely think that it was definitely multiple people, and I feel like the police also had possibly something to do with it as well in covering it up, because they very easily could have been linked to a lot of people in town and didn't want anyone to get in trouble and all stuff, so they could have easily helped cover it up too. Investigators did multiple searches for Alonzo with no luck. How come the family was able to find his body very quickly? An explanation for this could be that somebody could have potentially put his body in a spot that it wasn't in before. They could have hid his body in a different location and at the very last second decided to move it. So that way the body could be found, but not by the police, but by his family for some weird reason. Or the investigators didn't really try too hard like they claimed they did to search for him. I feel like they weren't too interested in the case as much as, like his family was, and as far as finding him. So there's a lot of possibilities as to why the family found his body and not the investigators.
Yeah, I think that it is very likely that someone in the town was hearing that the family was going to search, and there are several theories that they wanted to basically make a statement towards his race. Alonzo was having a very good time at the party, and basically, like I said multiple times, the town is known for its racism, and even on a Reddit post, someone mentioned that there's a motto there that says, "Don't let the sun hit your back if you're black." I do believe that they basically either already had killed him or they were keeping him hostage and going to kill him and then put his body out there because the family was going to go searching and they wanted to basically make a statement that black people are not welcome in that town. But it is possible that the police and the divers and cadaver dogs could have missed a spot somewhere. But again, it is very suspicious that the investigators did several searches, including with helicopters, divers, cadaver dogs, and did not find the body. And very quickly, when the family did a search, they found the body, which definitely more likely proves it towards being someone placing Alonzo's body there. Are the police protecting who killed Alonzo? The police are very, like the local police of Cygne are very suspicious in this case because, first of all, in the beginning of this case, when his mom was reporting Alonzo as missing, and when they went to go search the property, and the fact that his shoes were found several areas apart and Alonzo had a ankle injury, they thought Alonzo like ran away or something. But the fact that his belongings were so far apart like that and he had a hurt ankle does not make it seem like Alonzo just ran away. And the fact that there was a racially motivated fight and that this area is known for its racism makes me believe that the police had to at very least know who killed Alonzo, and they want to protect whoever. They want to protect the reputation of the town. They're all about protecting their reputation. Pretty much to them, he's just another person and he's not important. Yeah, and also they might have covered it up as well because the person who did it could be a person that is very well known in the town and is known as a wonderful person, and they don't want to ruin that person's reputation. So I do believe that the police are protecting who killed Alonzo. I believe that the local police know more than what they have given us.
Yeah, I definitely believe, like I said earlier, since the police could be protected to a lot of well-known or fairly popular big people in the town, that they could be protecting that person. They could be protecting that person because they have personal ties with them, and they may have helped them cover up killing Alonzo. You know, they may be doing some other shady stuff on the side and don't want that person to get caught to also get connected to them doing other shady stuff. There are rumors that the fight was about a girl Alonzo had a relationship with. They didn't like him dating a white girl. Is this possible? Very possible. The town of Cygne were not a huge fan of black people. I'm sure they weren't a huge fan of black people dating white people. People in Cygne even had a motto that said, "If you're black, don't let the sun hit your back." And everybody knew this motto from several towns over. Even now, still to this day, people still stare at, like, interracial couples like it's disgusting or not natural. So it's very possible that a fight could have been started over that just because somebody didn't like it or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And it also could have been that maybe like Alonzo and this girl had a thing and the other person was jealous because maybe like this person liked that girl a lot, but Alonzo, he was a really nice guy, good looking, and maybe they didn't like that he stole their women. But you are right that there is a lot of people who still do look on interracial couples. It should not be that way, but I do know that there is still a lot of racism that exists in today's age, and a lot of people, especially in smaller towns, especially in the Midwest and the South, do not like interracial dating. And it's such a shame. This would kind of make sense why a fight would break out. That same girl, maybe it could have been her uncle or her brother didn't like her dating Alonzo, and so they could have been the ones that actually had murdered him. Could someone have slipped some sort of drug in Alonzo's drink and killed him? It is possible. There's so many different possibilities in this case. It's really hard to exactly say how Alonzo died because the coroner who did the autopsy said that they were unable to determine whenever he died. If they were able to determine that, they would be able to determine a lot of things, and the fact that his body was gone for quite some time. So someone could have easily slipped something in his drink. The person who got in a fight with him could have slipped something in his drink and basically made him vulnerable, and a bunch of people could have attacked him and killed him, and they could have hid his body in a freezer for a while, preserved it, and then when they found out that the family was going to search the property, they decided to place his body out.
What do we believe happened that night? I believe that there's so many possibilities that could have happened, but I believe that, this was definitely a hate crime and that somebody didn't like Alonzo being at that party because he was a black man. And if the rumors were true that he was dating a white girl, that could have made it so much worse. So I believe some stranger or acquaintance kind of tortured him, maybe slipped drugs in his drink or something like that, and just kind of killed him, hid his body and everything, and then decided not to uncover his body and bring it out into the light until his family started to search for him.
I found this Reddit theory and it's pretty believable. So it talks about these brothers named Pat Boone and Jerry Boone, and they come up a lot in the vlog. And basically it talks about how they're relatives of this girl named Tiffany Boone, who is supposedly rumored to be the girl Alonzo Brooks was with that night. And that these were they were related to her somehow. Basically, I believe that they pretty much killed him because he was black and they didn't like the fact that he was interacting with his sister Tiffany Boone. And so they killed him, put his body in a freezer, and then whenever they found out that the family was going to search or whatever, decided to place his body there. And some more evidence that kind of supports this is that there's also a niece of Pat or Jerry Boone, and apparently she's allegedly had bragged about her uncle's involvement in the murder. There's many people who are brought up in the comments, but to me that one does make a lot of sense. And it says that they use a hunting dog shock collar to torture him, and like his neck was heavily decomposed, so we can't really exactly prove evidence for or against that, but it was definitely racially motivated because later on there was some evidence towards a fight breaking out at 3 a.m. that was racially motivated. So he definitely was killed because he was black. Whether or not it was because of a girl, it's definitely somebody at that party, and I don't think all of the attendees are telling the truth of what happened, because there was many of them who refused to take a polygraph test. I don't think we will ever find out. They're gonna do everything to protect their reputation.
Yeah, I definitely think somebody is lying and hiding about the fact that they either were involved or that they killed Alonzo.
And this is why whenever you're at a party and if you have any friends of minorities, you need to be racially aware. You need to not leave them by themselves, and you need to have a buddy system to take people home and make sure everybody gets home safely, because this could have very easily had a way different outcome.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Murders, Mysteries, and More. Remember to always keep your eyes open. You never know when someone's creeping.